Before I knew the world was ending, I was a king. Now they call me the shipwright. After nearly a century, the task I was given is almost complete. This is my last chance to save whoever would join us, to salvage whatever knowledge I can, to help us rebuild. But the gods rule here, and they never do things the easy way.
The Shipwright speaks. A huge thank you to the talented Philip Nathaniel Freeman. This is the first time I've worked with a voice actor, and he just knocked it out of the park. He understood the character and found the right voice immediately. I wanted a classic intro that presented the premise of Deck Gods. Now that I've taken my first step into working with voice talent, my mind is reeling with more possibilities. 10 years after graduating from art school, I was invited back to give a talk. I talked about the importance of story and tried to advocate for the critical role that concept art can play in the storytelling process. It was my way of attempting to pass on some of the lessons I'd learned. 10 more years have passed since that talk. I've changed. The world has changed. And the lessons I'd want to pass on have changed. If you'll indulge me, while page 6 plays out in the background, I thought I'd deliver an update. I won't bury the lead. Concept art is great, but it's not the primary concern right now. Story itself is under attack, and without it, no amount of art will solve anything. As creators, the beacons of Minas Tirith are lit. Story, with a capital S, calls for aid. Will we answer? See, I consider myself to be a storyist, my own made-up term. By now everyone's familiar with simulation theory, that from a purely statistical point of view, it's more likely that we live in a simulation than something like the real world. I don't hold to simulation theory, not because I find it far-fetched, but because I don't think it goes far enough. I call myself a storyist because I believe that this very real world is a story. We are characters of living ink written on the paper of creation. From the invisible and inescapable laws that govern our universe to the language of our own unique DNA. Our lives are intertwined with stories from cradle to grave. We were written into our particular moment in history. We live and pass on the best parts of ourselves through stories. In the end, all that remains of us here will be the stories we leave behind. Our identities are forged not only by our histories, but also our founding myths. They determine who we are as individuals, as families, as nations, as a species. They are the storehouses of our hard-earned values. They give us heroes to aspire to. If you wanted to destroy a person, a family, a nation, you would destroy their stories, undermine their heroes. But no one would do that, right? Think about the last 10 years of storytelling. How many heroes can you think of that were torn down, were stripped of their bravery, their idealism, their courage, and turned into tired, bitter old men? How many characters that once overcame obstacles were stripped of their hard-earned titles and replaced by characters who overcame nothing? How many stories had their fundamental structures deconstructed, reimagined, or subverted for the sake of empty novelty? How many storytellers betrayed our shared narratives for their own short-sighted gain? What kinds of heroes have all but disappeared? For generations, storytelling has been held firmly in the grip of gatekeepers. Studios, publishers, editors, whoever it may be, they decided what stories, and storytellers, were allowed to participate in culture. They trimmed, they edited, advised, consulted, declined, exiled. This is a grim chapter of the story, and it's all we've ever known, but it's coming to an end. And I believe that we were written into this part of the story for a reason. Story, again with a capital S, was never actually theirs, any more than a person stumbling across a beach owns the world's oceans. We can see evidence of the old systems cracking all around us. At the time of this recording, The Backrooms and Obsession, films made by young, passionate storytellers, outperformed Disney's first Star Wars feature film to be released in 7 years. Young Washington, an idealized and heroic retelling of history, outperformed the latest big studio superhero movie, despite being shown in less theaters. Self-published, crowd-funded projects are carving pathways around the major publishers. There are too many examples to count. If some come to mind, type them in the comments so the people who doubt this can see for themselves. We're watching a tectonic shift. The story has been straining against its gatekeepers for years. on rare occasions slipping through the cracks and making its resentful captors billions of dollars in its wake. But the gate is crumbling, and it can't be kept much longer. This is the most exciting time to be a storyteller in living memory. To repeat a favorite metaphor, the old trees are falling and sunlight is finally able to reach the forest floor. We are already seeing new saplings spring up, and there are still countless seeds ready to grow. To the creatives, the hard reality is that the ceiling above your work is the story that it serves. If it's hunched over and twisted, your best work will never be able to stand to its full height. It's time to stand up. It's not likely that better stories are just around the corner. It's not just that the gatekeepers won't give up their gates. At this point, they can't. No one is coming to the rescue. We have to figure this out ourselves. Story needs us. If you're anything like me, your skill set is relatively narrow, but even the awkward, shambling first steps back towards something meaningful are far more beautiful than a professional's full sprint in the opposite direction. Take the first step. Start writing that outline. Collect those references. Work through that tutorial. If you're going to start making something you believe in, you're going to need to learn outside your comfort zone. My own project requires me to be the writer, director, producer, actor, fight choreographer, cinematographer, gaffer, production designer, location scout, costume maker, editor, marketer, social media manager. I'm out of my depth when it comes to most of that stuff. But when I look around, I have a lot of hope. I see people trying. I see them learning. Each new step is worth celebrating because they're moving towards stories that mean something to them. They're not waiting for approval. Is it going to work? There are absolutely no guarantees. In fact, it mostly won't. Most will fail. But the people who are going to succeed won't even hear those words. The light is starting to pour in through the canopy for the first time in living memory. Generations from now, people will look back on this crazy chapter with envy. They'll say, I know it must have been scary, but I wish I could have been there. That's why I'm planting my seed in the sun-warmed soil. Dead Gods is a graphic novel and world-building project that I'm working on in my spare time. I'm documenting and sharing the whole process, warts and all. It's an action-adventure story based primarily on the biblical account of Noah found in Genesis, before the flood. My target audience is my younger self, and no one else. It's the story I was always looking for on the shelves, but never found. My protagonist, the shipwright, is the kind of hero that I used to aspire to be. I've been missing heroes like this, but I gave up waiting for someone else to create them. I'm currently working on book 1. When I've reached the right amount of story, I'll publish it and continue with book 2. I have no idea how many books I'll be able to get to. I've already planned a lot of potential episodes, and I feel like I'm just getting started. This is too much project for one man. With help from my patrons and YouTube viewers, I've already been able to commission some supporting work by talented 3D artists. I'd eventually like to hire artists I admire to draw entire episodes. I'd love to find people who can help me turn these comics into motion graphics with real VO and audio engineering. Working with Philip on the intro to this video was my first attempt to break ground in that direction. And from there, who knows? Maybe I'll live to see this story animated. I've been approached by quite a few individuals and companies that want to turn Dead Gods into a tabletop role-playing game, which for anyone else who might ask, it's an exciting prospect, but I want to get more of this story finished before taking on a project like that. Story belongs to all of us. For the creators, as I've said, now is the time. No one is coming to help us, but no one is coming to stop us either. To the army of people with a deep love for stories who don't necessarily feel called to create them, your role is just as crucial. The truth is, the gatekeepers are losing their grip because of you. Story is breaking through their grasp because you are choosing who to support. The breakout projects that are succeeding are doing so because you are the ones breaking them out. You are Gandalf and the Rohirrim arriving at Helm's Deep at first light on the 5th day. Your support is the sunlight that is finally reaching the forest floor. It doesn't have to be my project, but find people who are telling stories that mean something. Ride to the rescue over that hill. The creators that you fight with today will be able to fight even harder tomorrow. If we want to save storytelling, It will take all of us. But one day, we'll be able to stand shoulder to shoulder, heads held high, knowing we fought for it. To quote Henry V's St. Crispin's Day speech, "We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Be he ne'er so vile, this day shall gentle his condition. And gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap whiles any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's Day."